Greetings and welcome to Unit 14 of Module 1. This is going to be related to what we call as taxonomy tables, and in the earlier unit we spent some time in understanding the nature and importance of psychomotor domain in learning, and also we looked at the role of all three domains in all learning activities. What we stated was that when you look from the neuroscience point of view or from the brain point of view, all the three domains, activities in all the three domains are simultaneously present. Depending on the nature of the activity, one particular domain may be more dominant than the other one, but any activity that you do, mental processing activity that you do, there is a role for all the three domains, that is cognitive, there is cognitive processing, there is affective processing, and there is also psychomotor processing. And the way we looked at these three domains as per Peirce-Gray taxonomy, that the brain processes in three stages. It receives sensory information, then you process and then produce some output. So, the taxonomy that was proposed contains recognizes these three elements of processing by the brain, and all the three domains are correspondingly looked at. And another thing that we noticed or noted is that as you keep going higher up in the higher levels of affective and psychomotor domains, the level of cognitive activity also keeps on increasing with it. So, these are the points that one needs to remember when you are dealing with the three domains. And now in the present unit related to taxonomy table, we try to understand the role of taxonomy tables in attainment of alignment among outcomes, assessment and instruction. As we always noted, there are three elements in any teaching learning process. There is an outcome which we are trying to attain, and to what extent we attained is measured by the assessment, and we conduct instructional activities to facilitate students to attain these outcomes. These are the three elements of any teaching learning process. Now, once again to recapture, we called it Anderson-Bloom taxonomy, and cognitive domain has two dimensions, namely cognitive processes, sometimes we call them as cognitive levels as well, and we have knowledge categories. And we identified 6 cognitive levels or 6 cognitive processes and 4 general categories of knowledge. So, what happens is these two are two dimensions. Both the cognitive processes and knowledge categories can be integrated together in the form of a table, because they are two dimensions. So, you cannot mix that. So, we have it in the form of a table. This table will have 6 rows of cognitive processes and 4 categories of knowledge, which can serve as a tool to deal with many issues related to teaching and learning. Let us take a look at the table. We call it Anderson-Bloom taxonomy table or just merely AB taxonomy table. And the cognitive processes, as we put them in the particular hierarchy, lowest is remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate and create, and the knowledge categories are also organized factual, conceptual, procedural and metacognitive. Now, there is no particular hierarchy as such with regard to the knowledge categories, but with regard to cognitive processes we have this hierarchy. The taxonomy table as presented by the book written by Anderson, Krathwohl and others, they interchange the rows and columns. That means, the cognitive processes are presented as columns and knowledge categories are presented as rows. Here why we slightly altered this, interchange these two rows, these rows and columns, is because when we are going to write our so called outcome of any learning activity, we start with the cognitive action verb related to one cognitive process, one identified cognitive process, and we start with an action verb related to that, and then it is followed up by what do you call the knowledge elements. So, because of that sequence, we felt this would be a better representation of the taxonomy table rather than the original one that was proposed, but both can be used. There is no particular what do you call a distinct advantage of one over the other. It is just we felt it is a little more convenient to represent the cognitive process, a process as a row rather than the column. And what is the some features of this taxonomy table? As you can see, there are 6 into 4, 24 cells are there in this. So, every cell has an address. It can be numbered by the cognitive process and the knowledge category. That means, it can have 1 to 6 cognitive levels and 1 to 4 knowledge categories. For example, the cell 4, 3 represents analyze and procedural outcome or instructional activity or assessment. The cell itself has an address 4, 3. And another thing is there is a hierarchy, as we acknowledge there is a hierarchy among the cognitive processes. So, what happens, all the cells represented representing the cognitive process analyze, that is 4, star, that you can put any of the knowledge elements there, represents more complex or higher level cognitive activity than the cell 3, star, but not necessarily more difficult activity. This is something that one needs to be very clear, what we call it as complexity and difficulty. Complexity is strictly defined in terms of cognitive levels. That means, if I am doing analyze activity, it is more complex than apply activity. If I am doing evaluate activity, it is more complex than, let us say, analyze activity and so on. So, complexity should only be understood in terms of higher level cognitive activity, but difficulty is completely a different parameter altogether. For example, I can have a remember activity which is the lowest, but I can have let us say very difficult activity in that. For example, we can ask somebody, what is the capital city of Karnataka state? It is easy to remember, but if I say what are the capital cities of all northeastern states? Yes, it is a little more difficult activity. One may or may not remember all the capital cities of northeastern states, or even come back to Karnataka state. What is the capital, what is the district headquarters of let us say Bangalore North district? it would be easy to remember, but if you say list all the districts of Karnataka state, which is certainly more difficult activity than just listing or listing headquarters of a particular district. So, what can happen is the difficulty is a different parameter compared to complexity. These two should not be what do you call mixed with each other. Many people consider complexity is more difficulty, and once again another issue is with regard to complexity and difficulty. Many faculty take a position that because the students they come from a weaker academic background, they cannot handle complex cognitive activities. So, while the subject has the required syllabus, but my assessment is more constrained to lower cognitive activities, and that is where the mix up between complexity and difficulty comes. One can sacrifice some level of difficulty, but one should not sacrifice the relevant complexity. The moment you sacrifice complexity, I think we are doing disservice to the students, because you are preventing them from truly learning, and when they do not learn to perform relevant higher cognitive activities, then they are less prepared for a placement. That means we are denying them the opportunities to get proper placements by completely are trying to avoid or make the assessment or restrict the assessment to lower and lower levels of cognitive activities. So, this is a very important facet of complexity and difficulty, though it does not directly get reflected in the taxonomy table, but if one wants, they can add another dimension of difficulty to that. Complexity is incorporated. As you keep going down the rows, that means you are making the level of complexity higher and higher. And one can also in one sense look at this complexity. If the bottom rows are not populated at all at any level, then that means we are constraining the quality of learning of the students. Okay. Now, the cell 4 comma star, because of the hierarchical nature of cognitive processes, implies all the activities in 3 comma star, 2 comma star and 1 comma star cells. That means I do not have to keep mentioning the lower cells at the lower cognitive levels once I have identified 4 comma star. Let us take a look at this detail with respect to the table. And here once again there are 3 elements of a course which we have mentioned earlier. So, course outcomes representing what the student should be able to do at the end of the course, that we call it CO. We will come to COs in detail in the next unit. Assessment of the course outcomes through assignments, tests and examinations, right. This is what we normally, how do we assess? We give them some assignments which carry some marks, and we conduct midterm tests, and then we have end semester examination. And each assignment or tests or examination will have a series of items in that, because an examination does not contain one question or one assessment item, it will have multiple assessment items or multiple questions. So, what happens when you look at each element of an assessment instrument, namely examination paper, that can belong to any of the cognitive category depending on how you have asked that particular question. That is why our focus will be on an individual assessment item rather than assessment instrument, which is a collection of assessment items, namely the questions, and we will represent that by AI, that is assessment item. And then what happens, once we identified a course outcome, we have some teaching learning activities, what we call instructional activities, to facilitate the learners to attain that outcome. That is, we may lecture, we may have some quizzes in the class, we may have discussions in the class. How we organize those instructional activities is the choice of the teacher, and also it depends on the nature of the subject as well. So, what happens, these instructional activities, we represent them by IA. So, these are the three elements: course outcome, assessment items and instructional activities. These are the three elements of any course. Now, the particular key concept in the area of teaching and learning is that assessment should be in alignment with the course outcomes. That means, if I want the student to be able to solve a problem, that is the goal of that, then my assessment should also ask the student to solve such problems. He cannot merely say describe that concept, or can you list some properties of this material. One cannot constrain or restrict himself or herself to lower cognitive levels. When it is done at lower cognitive levels, we consider the assessment is not in alignment with the outcomes. Similarly, instruction also should be in alignment with the assessment, because I must prepare the student to perform cognitive activities corresponding to the course outcome, or I must be able to perform instruction activities to facilitate the students to answer questions related to the course outcome. So, assessment, instruction and course outcome should be in alignment with each other. So, an element, any of these element here would mean the assessment, instruction and course outcome. An element of a course can be tagged by its cognitive level, that is action verb, and knowledge category can be more than one as well. That means, the number of knowledge elements can be more than one in a given outcome statement. So, an element, once again an element can be CO or AI or IA. It can be located in one or more cells of the taxonomy table based on the tagging, how we have tagged it. So, alignment with regard to taxonomy table, we define in terms of all the elements of a course should be located in the same cell of the taxonomy table. That is what we mean by alignment. Let us take a look at this. For example, CO3 is a course outcome, is just a number. Okay. Course outcome 3 is related to apply and procedural. So, it is located in cell 3 comma 3. When the assessment and instructional activities are in full alignment with that, with CO3, then they should be located in the same cell. That is what we located IA3 and AI3 in the same 3 cell. That is what we really mean by a true alignment, but this is 100% alignment with this. It may not always happen that way. What happens is, let us take here, let us take CO4. So, what I may do is, CO4 is apply and procedural. I am putting AI4 also in the same cell. That means, all the questions that I am going to ask in any form, whether it is 1 mark question or 10 mark question or it is internal test or end semester exam, all my assessment instruments are also located in the same cell 3. Okay. But what may happen is, while preparing the student, I may go through activities which are somewhat like I start defining, I introduce terminology. In that case, I have my instructional activity related to CO4 can be located in cell 1(3), or sometimes I spend some understanding explaining things, comparing them with other things, and I may have IA4 instructional activities related to CO4 can also be located in 2(3) cell. It is something that is possible. Okay. Any instructional activity is likely to go through that. I cannot just straight away go through this, but notice that AA4, that is assessment instruments, are 100% located in the cell 3(3). That is one property of this CO4. I can have another situation. What do I have? I have CO5 is another outcome, course outcome, that is located in 4(2), analyze conceptual. But what happens is, I am now my assessment instrument as well as instructional activity can be any of the 3 lower cognitive levels. IA5, AI5 can be in the 1 and 2 or 2 and 2 or 3 and 2. But you will notice that there is no AI5 in the cell 4(2). That means I am not asking any questions related to analyze. My questions are related to either some calculations, apply, or some understanding related or merely remember related questions, and that is totally unacceptable way of conducting your instruction. If something is not at all available under CO5, in the cell CO5, if there are no assessment items in that area, in that cell, then it is not an acceptable way of doing. Then I can have another situation, extreme one. AI5 belongs to 1 and 1. That means it is neither analyze nor conceptual, it is only some kind of a remembering some definitions rather than or some factual information, and it has not total in misalignment with the CO5. This is what one needs to understand when you talk about using taxonomy table to understand the alignment. For example, as we said, AI5, there should be some AI5 with respect to CO5. As we said, in the CO4 case, 100% of assessment items are in cell 3 and 3, whereas here it is the AI5 is totally absent in the cell 4(2). So what is the compromise? One is one extreme, the other is other extreme. So there we have to come to some common understanding. What should be the percentage of assessment items that belong to the required cell, namely in the case of CO5 it is 4(2). When we ask several teachers, they all say at least it should be, a minimum should be 50%, or sometimes they say more than 50%. That means 50 or more percentage of questions should belong to that particular cell represented by CO5, and we have been recommending that it should be at least minimum 60%. If one wants to have more percentage of questions in that corresponding cell, they are quite welcome. But unfortunately what happens, a survey of university papers in various subjects indicates somehow the percentage of questions belong to, let us say 1 comma 2 becomes extremely large, much higher percentage of questions keep going. Part of the reason is part of the reason for that is not, sometimes it is unintentional, or you just go by what is convenient rather than intentionally avoiding the CO5 cell. Sometimes you may take even a position, yes, CO5 is what is required by the students, but I do not think I can ask questions in that area because too many of my students are likely to fail. So once the students understand this mechanism, then they will not even make an attempt to answer questions that belong to the cell 4 comma 2. This is the basic dilemma in the case of in several institutions, depending on the nature of the students or the views of the faculty member or views of the management as well. So this is a major issue right now, but one can really debate these issues among concerned faculty and the department with the help of this taxonomy table. Okay. Now this is what we have explained about all the cells the way in the sample that was presented. First thing is, course outcome and related instructional activities should be complete alignment, should be locatable in the same cell, that is first thing. While some, that is small percentage of assessment items can be in cells representing cognitive levels lower than that of course outcome, significant percentage of assessment items should be in the same cell as that of the CO. So what can a taxonomy table do for us? It is a simple table, but it can facilitate achieving the specified alignment among the 3 elements of a course and eliminate chance occurrences, both in the university type of exam where you have affiliated institutions and even in what do you call as autonomous institution where the teacher is likely to design the assessment instrument. But in both the cases there is a possibility of chance occurrence, and in that case not achieving the right kind of alignment. So one can make use of this taxonomy table, and we will spend more time in module 2 of this course TALG with regard to designing assessment appropriately. And taxonomy table can also help in the design of well structured test item banks, and consequently what we call the 2 important properties of any assessment instrument is validity and reliability, which we will elaborate in the module 2, and they can be achieved. And the most important thing is the assessment should be valid and should be reliable. That is, I am testing what I am expecting my students to be able to attain. My assessment is related to that. Reliable means the performance of a student in my course this year and the performance of the same course next year by another student are comparable. That means if I say this year a student has achieved 65% in this course, another student who achieved the same 65% next year, we can say they are approximately same abilities. That's what we mean by reliability. It can also serve as an effective tool for organizing tutoring. Tutoring is one-to-one instruction. So, one can even organize tutoring by using the taxonomy table. We will not elaborate how exactly the taxonomy table can be used for that, except saying that it can be used for organizing tutoring. We have another type of taxonomy table for affective domain. So, you have affective levels, we call them perceive, react, conform, validate, affective judge and affective create. There is the same level of hierarchy that we had with cognitive domain, and here there are 3 levels of goals: behavioral goal, procedural goal and substantive goal. And here the procedural goal is at a higher level than the behavioral goal, and similarly substantive goal is at a higher level than the procedural goal. So, there is also a kind of it is not strictly a kind of hierarchy, but that is one can talk about more difficult and more difficult to achieve. Okay. So, this affective domain taxonomy table also can be effectively used by the faculty who want to address the affective domains simultaneously along with the cognitive domain. We have not come across such a taxonomy table for psychomotor domain. So, this is the hierarchy of affective goals that I have explained. And now as a practice, write one or more assessment items, questions and or assignments as you call, for all the cells relevant to the course you taught or familiar with. Let us go back and see what is meant by relevant. If you take the taxonomy table, what happens depending on the nature of the course, all cognitive processes are not relevant to a particular subject. Okay. That means I am eliminating, let us say I am eliminating create, evaluate, analyze, those cognitive processes are not relevant to my course at all. And also I may take, though metacognitive knowledge is important, I may or may not have the required resources to address the metacognitive level. So, what may happen is I am restricted to a 3×3 table rather than 6×4. Sometimes some courses, actually in fact many courses in many areas, they stop with the cognitive process understand. That means you are only restricting yourself to only the top 2 rows. So, it depends on the nature of the course and the way the faculty member wants to handle the course. So, keep that in mind when writing. When we say relevant cells really mean that. Write one or more assessment item. This is more for practice. How do I look? I write an assessment item, that means a question or an assignment, and based on the statement that you make, you should be able to identify the cell address of that. So, in each one of the relevant cells, is it possible for you to write at least one or more questions for that. And in the next unit, unit 15, we try to understand how to write outcomes of a course within the framework of Anderson-Bloom taxonomy. Thank you very much.